Let's create a pivotal impact. Friends in the industry. So in your own experience, have you noticed an increase or a decrease in customer service performance? So if you're headed to your local grocery store, do you find that people are more friendly and helpful, or do you find that they're a little more jaded and short in their conversations? Personally, I've actually noticed both. I've noticed that people can be one or the other. So one of my favorite quotes that my friend Anthony, who's the owner of WCB Consulting, recently shared is, people will not always remember what you said or you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. So how true is this statement when you're interacting with someone in a customer service role? I also find it interesting that if you stop and think for a moment about all of the positive customer service experiences you've had recently, how many can you remember? But how about the negative experiences? Can you think of probably a lot? Well, unfortunately, you do think of those a little faster, is a negative experience over the positive. So in today's episode, I'm really excited as I speak with Dana Smith, owner of The Mindful Trucker, on customer service in the transportation industry. And we dive into what does a positive customer experience look like and what goes into creating this positive experience in our industry. Furthermore, Dana highlights some pointers that carriers and their professional drivers can implement into their business operations to improve their customer experience. So I'm Josh Hannaberry, your host of the Truck Focus podcast. This is the first time you've ever checked out a podcast. Welcome to the community. For those that are dedicated to listening to our content, I just really appreciate your continued investment and time. Make sure that you like this episode, subscribe to the channel you're listening to, like it, share it out, all that good stuff. I also encourage you to get in contact with The Mindful Trucker by visiting themindfultrucker.com. I've included his contact details in the show notes. So as we get started, I also encourage you to think of what makes a positive customer experience in your own journey. What are certain things that your operations doing to ensure that your customers have a positive experience? Let me know in the comments below. I look forward to the impact this conversation is going to have. Let's get to it. Dana, welcome back to the Truck Focus podcast. I'm really grateful that you're able to come back to another episode, and it's really nice to show like a coast to coast connection and the fact that we both are very aligned in our way of thinking. So it's nice, again, just having a common safe place to talk about things that really matter in our industry. And I'm really admiring more and more what the Mindful Trucker is doing in industry. I like that you've released some new strategic partnerships and what we were talking about before we hit record. There's a lot of exciting momentum here, and I'm just really grateful that you came back, but also today's topic, customer service in transportation. And I think this is a topic where often it's a negative conversation because they don't, carriers from a carrier's perspective, maybe they don't feel like they can satisfy their customer, or maybe the customer themselves is like scratching the head saying, hey, what's going on? But there's a lot to being effective in customer service and making sure that you're retaining customers and also celebrating professional drivers in that process. So yeah, I'm really excited to have you here and dive into this conversation. Welcome.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate being here again and the opportunity with the Truck Focus podcast to do this. Yeah, for sure. You really hit the nail on the head with the customer service thing there. It's so entrenched into the business. And I mean, you talk about carriers and drivers and dispatchers and logistics people. I mean, they're all in it. And, if you look at the industry as a whole, I guess what happens is that most trucking companies can offer the same service. So what differentiates you from the next guy? Well, customer service to me is going to be on the top of the list, because if it's not, you're the same as everybody else, in my opinion, right? Yes. Of course, that's just my opinion, but I'm not sure if you share that feeling. But
absolutely, yes.
I mean, it's the whole industry's built on it. So, think of it this way. Think about whether you're a company owner, a driver, a dispatcher. It doesn't matter what part of the industry you work in or the company. Put yourself in the customer's shoes for a minute. Just do that. And think about it for a second. What would I want as a customer, right? What are my needs? Can you as a trucking company solve my problem? I have freight to move, you move freight. Well, that's pretty standard stuff, right? Yeah, okay, so you can get it from A to B. But what if there's a problem? What if somewhere along the line a truck breaks down or a driver gets sick or it could be anything. and then all of a sudden your freight is stopped and you're expecting it at a certain time, and it doesn't show up, then what? That right there is going to be the difference right there, how you work with that customer and how you fulfill their needs and create a solution for that problem. A lot of it to me is communication, I think. Because if you're not communicating with the customer, first of all, they have no idea what's going on. And I know myself, I've been in that situation before. We all order packages online through Amazon or through, FedEx and Purolator and all of these courier companies. And, they track all that stuff, and you can see it live tracking. Where is my package at any time? So if that package doesn't show up when you think it's supposed to be there, what's the first thing you do? You start getting a little, upset, depending on what it is you ordered.
Yes.
And the next thing that happens is now you're on the call with customer service, and you say, okay, where's my package? Because it says online that it should have been delivered and it's not here.
Yes.
So where is it? So that's what I mean by putting yourself in the customer's shoes and saying, how would I want to be treated as a customer? If you can think from that perspective, I think it makes the customer service part of it not so much part of a training exercise, more so of a way of life, of just looking at things in a different perspective, so that you understand what is the customer going through today.
Yes.
That kind of thing.
Completely agree. And I think there's a handful of things that you definitely said that I completely agree with. And I think oftentimes when you get busy, we're all busy. There's things happening in our own spaces where I think it's easy to forget what's the customer going through and what was the customer's expectations at the time of calling you and or signing a freight contract. Often those are missed, and they don't maybe get from the salesperson or the operations persons that working with the customer straight down to the entire team that needs to know. And I think, so there's a lot there. So when you're talking about we all haul freight and what's the differentiator, you're absolutely right. It is a customer service perspective. And part of that's the relationship. Part of that, like I always say, there's a power in remembering someone's name. And if you're able to identify on the phone, and I'm speaking through experience where when I was dealing with on the customer service side of the businesses, I loved remembering someone's name, and I see their phone number pop up. Obviously, their name is right there, and you identify them by their name. Instantly, there's a much healthier relationship. And then problem solving is another big one that you said that I wanted to dive into today was, okay, it's great that you can promise the world, but what do you do when things go wrong? And I think that's really important as well. And another thing too is the culture of your own organization. So from a carrier's perspective, what is the culture of your organization? Do you put a customer on a pedestal and yes, ma'am, no, sir type attitude? Is it relationship based, or is it, what do they know? They're just the customer. So I think identifying just how you perceive your customers is really important as well.
Yeah, and I mean, you hit the nail on the head with the relationship thing too, because I mean, that's how or why the Mindful Trucker and how it's built. It's built on creating relationships with other companies and other people to come to a common ground in this with a service or a product to offer the industry, right? So when you have that relationship, you call up the client and say, hey, Joe, this is Dana calling, and we got a bit of a problem with your stuff, your freight, but hey, we're working on it. We've got a solution. Here's what it is. So it's going to be a little bit delayed, but we're going to have it there, and it makes all the difference in the world, I think, because here's the thing. I talked a minute ago about the couriers and you everybody getting stuff online, ordering online and get delivered to your house. Well, if the customer service isn't there, the client is let down, basically. It didn't live up to their expectations. So now all of a sudden they've got this thing where, now their customer is upset because they didn't deliver on their promise. Now you've got a company who didn't deliver to a company who didn't deliver to a company. And when that happens, it's like a chain reaction. And what do you think is going to happen to the main customer? And the second customer is going to say, well, you know what? I'm done with you guys because you didn't fix my problem. And the first thing they're going to do is tell 10 people and 10 more and 10 more and so on and so forth. And I mean, that can be very damaging to your business. very negative impact on it, right?
Yes.
And, who knows, that person that someone told, they could have, a 200 trucking company. And now all of a sudden they're saying, well, not a trucking company, but you know what I mean? Like something that they, a business that they ship, like automotive or something. Yeah. Maybe they were thinking about getting a different carrier. Well, they're not going to look at you because he heard through the grapevine that you're not reliable.
Yes.
So why would he go to you? He's going to go to the guy down the street, So it just affects the image of a company. It affects the industry as a whole when this sort of thing happens, right? And I mean, stuff happens, right? There's times where, yes, it's going to be late. There's weather issues. There's breakdowns. There's all kinds of things that happen. But just keep the customer informed. Communicate to them. And I think that you'll find that with that great communication, the customer isn't like, this big Goliath monster who's going to say, oh, I'm done with you. I've had enough. Work with them and they'll work with you as well. And it'll end up being a pretty darn good relationship, I think.
Yes.
So,
yeah, I agree. Reliability is key. And yeah, it's interesting how someone can complain and they'll tell 10 people, but you do a good job every day for the next 10 years and they don't tell a soul unless they're actually asked, hey, do you know anyone reliable? Well, actually, this guy hasn't messed up in a long time. So I think, yeah, that's really key. But again, it comes back to the communication. And I was going to ask if just through your own driving experience and training experience, have you had a situation where because of communication, you were able to diffuse basically a bomb going off and saving a relationship? Have you been in that type of environment while operating as a professional driver?
I'll just bring you to the training aspect of that. When I'm training students, we have a lot of students, international students, and a lot of times there's language barriers that we run into. And I do find that a lot of times that if you just slow down just a little bit and actually just have a conversation, a lot of times you can, there could be a word or two that maybe someone just doesn't understand that you're saying. I'll give an example, would be the fuel pedal. Some people identify the fuel pedal as the throttle, push on the fuel pedal, or gas. So if you say push on the throttle, someone may not know what that means. They don't react to it. They don't do it. So I find with this is take the time, just stop, take the time and say, look, please ask me a question. What is it that you don't understand about this that maybe I can explain it in a different way? Because these students are there, they're paying a lot of money to be there, and they're looking to you as a mentor to train them, an instructor to train them, and they want the most that they can get out of it. So really, that is customer service.
Yes.
Because I could sit there and say, well, too bad, figure it out.
Yes.
Right? But I don't. I care enough. And that's why I'm there doing that in the first place, is I care enough that I'm going to sit down with them, take that minute and say, okay, look, what is it that you don't understand? Maybe I can explain it to you a different way. And I'm telling you, I've had huge response from that.
Yes.
It just makes all the difference.
Yes.
So that's one aspect.
Yes.
Another thing that I remember over the road, I was running team truck. This was back in 2000, and I was hauling a lot of mail and courier stuff. And I got a call from dispatch. I was in Toronto, and they said, we have this load of mail that has to go to Winnipeg, and it needs to go like ASAP. And I said, okay, I take pretty much any load, didn't matter to me, it's time. And the last thing they said to me was, please get it there on time because we're in jeopardy of losing the contract. It has to be there by 9 a.m. on whatever day it was. Please, they were basically pleading, don't mess this up. So, rather than just take it as another load and go up the road with it, taking your time, doing your thing, you know, I pride myself on punctuality. I really do. And customer service, I just do. Because that's what I would want. And so what I ended up doing was my team driver and I just looked at them and I said, we need to get this there and let's go. So I made it my mission to get there. I didn't have to, but I did. And we pulled into that dock and hit that dock at 20 to 9 in the morning.
Nice.
And we ran all day, all night, all through Northern Ontario to get there. And I'm going to tell you, when the door opened, that customer was just surprised. And I said, you know, here it is. And he said, thank you so much for getting it here, because we have to get this out. And we didn't know if it was going to be here in time or not. And I said, well, I did the best I could to get it there.
Nice.
So, did I, you know, I guess, you know, put that extra effort in? Yes, I did. Because customer service is important to me. And it doesn't matter if it's you know, XYZ company or ABC company. It doesn't matter to me who it is. I pride myself on that. And I want to make sure that I deliver on what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So that's another example of me basically going over and above for that.
Perfect. Yeah, there's a lot there that we can dissect too. So first, when you're talking about the training and the right language to use and understanding, okay, if they don't understand like throttle, but they understand like fuel pedal or like accelerator, whatever language that they need, I think you can totally translate that to, okay, what's the customer actually saying? And I remember a lot of my experience in oil field hauling equipment, and they're being like, yeah, you need to go to the northeast corner, turn right at this big bushy tree. It's like, okay. But again, so when it's a team effort, so if it's an operations person getting this information, do they care about all these specifics? Not as much as the professional driver that doesn't want to get stuck on site. So understanding what is the customer actually saying, but also being like, okay, that doesn't quite make sense, asking a different way just to get clarity. And I think clarity is key. So it's really nice that you highlighted that, but also understanding the level of priority. And I wanted to go into what are some steps that carriers, dispatchers, and professional drivers can do. And that's one of them was understanding the priority of the load. So it could be every load is a really big priority for this customer. Okay, you treat it as such. But we also know that there's loads where you're delivering on a Friday. They actually don't need it till Sunday morning. So, okay, do I stop for Timmy's along the way? Yeah, I still have time in my logbook. Sure. Like there's a different attitude there. And I like that you really talked about that, because as a professional, part of your professionalism, I believe, was installed in you. Part of it is your self-worth. And when a carrier, and I try and live in this space as often as I can when I identify professional drivers, is you are a professional. This is my expectation as you as a professional. Are we on the same page here? Can you own this space? And then on the flip side, professional drivers are going to be like, of course, I'm a professional. I want to be punctual. I want to make sure my cargo securement is proper. My pre-trip inspections are thorough. So that way you mitigate the risks, obviously, from point A to point B to haul the freight. But yeah, you hit a lot of things there that I'm really glad you said, because again, when we're busy, we don't think about this kind of stuff. You just kind of have that, well, I thought you were going to do it. And the flip side, well, I thought you were going to do it, instead of having clarity in your conversation. So I'm glad you hit those. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Cause I mean, you know, whose job is it to do in the first place? You know, I hear this a lot in the industry, and not so much, you know, dispatchers and things like that, but I find it more with the drivers, and not to knock them, but you have this thing out there that I've heard, like, where they'll say, well, that's not my job. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, that could be the difference between being a professional and being non-professional, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to, you know, I guess it goes back to the why.
Yes.
Why are you doing the job that you're doing?
Yes.
Are you doing it for the love of it, or are you doing it just to make a paycheck?
Yes.
And it doesn't really matter to you, you know. Everyone has their own reasons for why they're doing what they're doing.
Yes.
You know, I chose to drive truck because I loved it.
Yes.
And to me, when you love something, as you know, in what you're doing, when you love something, you do it well. Mm-hmm. Not just halfway. You do it very well. It just comes naturally.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And I think there's two things there. So first, two terms that I can't stand that I hear in your industry all the time, and you hear it in other industries too, is not my job or I'm just, and then they'll say their job title. And that used to drive me nuts when I was dispatching, is someone's like, I don't know, I'm just a driver. I'm like, no, you're not. You're a human being. And then I start install, like I get really preachy in that space because I'm like, no, you got to see a lot more in yourself, because ultimately if you can't, who will? And I think, yeah, changing the narrative, it's a team effort. So just like a sports team, if everyone's beating themselves down all the time and the attitude is really hierarchy, like, oh, kiss the coach's ring and oh, don't talk to the water boy. What do you think the water boy is going to do? They're just going to think, oh, it's just a job. But if you live in a culture where your profession is celebrated and it's constantly being communicated out, like, man, thanks so much for meeting that timeline. Like, man, Danny, I'm so grateful that you hit that, because this customer, they were really fed up with us or whatever. You as a professional, awesome. And those are the things, that's just a job. You cannot help. Like, there's some science behind it. We don't have to go too deep in there, but you can't help but feel good. Like, there is actually a study on like why a lot of males, like especially older males, are addicted to video games. And I often relate it to this space is if you work, say, a 10-hour day, you, including your commute to work, you go to work, you work, you come home, you're married, you have a very basic conversation with your spouse, you eat your dinner, then maybe get 2 hours, 3 hours of free time at night. What are you going to do? Well, you're going to do something that makes you feel good. When you're playing video games and there's that constant reassurance and encouragement and complimenting, great headshot, great shot there, great this, great that. Why do you think you're addicted? Because you live the other 80% of your day not being celebrated for what you're doing, even though you're doing a good job. So carriers, this is a call to action to you, is if you want to help shift that culture of, well, it's just the job, it's not my job type culture, celebrate the profession. That's something that I really try and advocate for, is let's take that video game mentality in that study. And I can't drop the links. I can't remember where I saw it. And I've seen other things in web development and stuff where it's the same concepts, where let's remove the mundane, let's remove the, oh, it's not my job to do that. And let's have a culture where it's all about celebrating and winning together. You can change that attitude really, really fast because you're installing that in people. So that's my
absolutely. It's positive reinforcement.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Because I'm like you, that word just, when you put that word just in there, it devalues what you are and who you are and what you do.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I agree. So what are, in your experience, what are some, I guess, steps, deliberate steps carriers, dispatchers, professional drivers are doing to satisfy customers that maybe some aren't? And you mentioned a couple already when we're talking about GPS tracking, if we're talking about calling ahead, just communicating with the customer. But are there any other things that carriers right now that are listening and they're like, I've never done that, I would have thought to do that, which is fine. What are some other, I guess, some simple, try doing this to satisfy your customer and build a better relationship that you could think of?
Well, one big one, I guess, and this goes for everybody, is communication. I mean, that word's thrown around a lot, and so is customer service. Everybody says they have the great customer service, but do they really? I would say here, just one thing before I get into that. When you talk about the client or the customer, and here's a little quote for you. People don't care what you know until they know you care. Yes. Right. So if you show up at a customer and you're with a load, for instance, and you walk in their warehouse and you're like, here's the paperwork, whatever, let me know when it's done, then that appears that you don't care. You're just there dropping a load, right? Yes. Have some conversation. One of the things that I always do, and this has worked well for me, this goes for anybody in this industry or any industry, is when you come up upon someone that you don't know and you've never seen before, you walk onto a dock, you go into a dispatch at a different company or whatever have you. The first thing I always said was, hi, how are you doing today? Nice. And as simple as that sounds, I've had people basically stop and look at me and say nothing because they were so shocked that I asked them how they're doing. And I mean, doesn't it seem like a simple thing?
Yes. Completely agree.
Like seriously though, if I'm a driver and I walk into the dispatch section of my business, and or of my company, and the dispatcher's sitting there. Imagine what the dispatcher's going through every day, just load after load after load. And if you walked up and said, "Hey, so and so, how are you doing today? How's it going?" It just brings a smile to someone's face when you just show interest, show that you care. That's it. It's so simple. And it works in every aspect, company owners, another one. You're in and around your office. You're seeing people on a daily basis. Ask the guy or the person, the woman that's sitting at the administration counter, "Hi, how are you doing today?"
Yes.
Watch and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
It has this amazing ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a simple thing, right?
Yes.
One of the other things that works really well for me, and I do have some issues with this one, is do what you say you're going to do.
Yes.
Okay. That's a big beef with me, with a lot of things, is if someone, if I tell you I'm going to be there at a certain time, I'm going to be there. You can take that to the bank. If I'm going to do something for you, you can take it to the bank. It's going to be done. You don't have to worry about it. But if I also tell you I'm not going to do it, then that's the other side of that, right? So I think that do what you say you're going to do, because you have this trucking company that offers all these different services. And, when you have a customer or client call in and they say, "Where's my freight? I want to know what's going on with it. It's not here when it's supposed to be." That person on the other end of the phone is the person that, maybe the salesman promised them certain time and the driver was late for whatever reason. Now the customer service has to deal with that. It can escalate very quickly. So don't, I would say, how's that saying go? I think it's under promise and over deliver.
Yes.
Don't do it the other way around.
Yes.
Because that's when you get yourself into a mess, right?
Yes.
So if you can do this, then say you can do it. If you can't, it's okay to say you can't do it. There's going to be certain time frames and things that'll happen that it's just not going to work, right? Yeah. As far as the drivers go, call a customer is a really easy one, because it takes 5 minutes to call the customer. And it can make things a lot easier for you, especially because you're the one that's still going in there. Maybe the person that's looking after that client didn't book the load in an appointment time. So now if you were to just to show up and there's no appointment, what do you think is going to happen to you? You're going to be upset. The client doesn't know you're coming. So now they're going to wonder, what am I going to do with this load I have? I can't take it right now. So now they're not happy. So then they're calling the customer service, and it just starts to become this ripple effect of what's going on. Take 2 minutes to call the customer and say, "Hey, I'm XYZ company. I'm coming in with a load of fish. My appointment time, I understand, is this. Is that correct?" And if they say yes or no or whatever, then at least they know you're coming.
Yes.
They can bank on that, right?
Yes.
Be pleasant is another one. If I know that's sometimes can be hard with a driver because you're running long hours. Maybe you're not eating that great. Maybe you're not exercising the way you should be. You're tired. You're grumpy. You're frustrated over traffic and God knows what else. And you're calling a customer. So you're the face of your company. And now you're calling the customer and saying, "Hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm coming with this load of fish." Well, what if you said, "Yeah, I got this load for you, and, I'll be there at such a time. So you better have an appointment ready." Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you think is going to happen? Right. Yes. Yes. So try to be as pleasant as possible. You get what you give. Yes. Right. So I think if you look at all of this, the company owner, you look at the dispatch, logistics, the drivers, there's one common thread in all of that, and it's communication. Okay. Yeah. Now, I was speaking with my wife earlier today, and I was talking about this podcast, and I said something about communication, and she said, here's a quote. Here's something for you. The reason why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth is because you need to listen 2 times more than you speak.
Yes. Yeah.
And I got to tell you, when she said that, I was like, oh my God, like that is so true, right? I never thought about it.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
it's all about listening.
Yes.
You know, if you listen to the concerns of the client, the driver, the dispatcher, hear them out, a lot of times the solutions are right there in front of you, and a problem can be fixed in 2 seconds rather than let it linger. And then it becomes this big blow up thing where, oh, now someone's out on stress leave because of whatever. We could have fixed that 6 months ago. Right?
Yes.
Or the customer left and is not happy. They went to another carrier because of some stupid little thing that could have been rectified 6 months ago.
Yes.
Right. So that would be my I guess my recommendations as far as, what could they do? And these, like I said, these are all things that are very simple processes to put in place. I think for all employees, it would be really cool to develop something that would focus on those kind of things, the value and the care, the communication. Now, with the Mindful Trucker, we do have a program in conjunction with a Soulful Leader that we run that works a little bit with that. I'm just looking at my notes here. It talks about value. It talks about minding what matters, knowing your flow, the communication connector. So if you look at all those things, that sort of kind of goes right in hand with what I was just talking about, right?
Yes.
So we do have a program like that. And if anybody's interested, they can just contact mindfultrucker.com and we'll have a conversation about that.
Yes.
So, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, man, there's so much value there. I make notes as you talk because I learned through writing. And so a couple of the really things that stood out. So two things I like thinking about is integrity and reputation. And integrity is the follow through, and your reputation is the fact that you followed through. And I think in our industry, there's a lot of the overpromise, underdeliver, where we need to flip it. We need to underpromise, overdeliver. So that way we operate as people with integrity. But then that's our reputation is, yeah, they came through with me. Yeah, they came through. And I think that is a really key takeaway, as well as when you're talking from, and I can relate to this as my own experience too, operating behind the wheel, is remembering, you're the billboard. So how you're driving in traffic matters, but how you're interacting with the customer matters. So being pleasant is key, but also knowing your audience and understanding that there's multiple cultures, obviously male, females, all that great stuff in our industry. So understanding who you're speaking to. And I've said it before because I'm used to saying, hey man, and it's actually a woman, like just quick, hey man, how's it go? Oh, yeah. It's happy. And sorry, so just being really mindful of your audience, I agree, is totally key. And just because you had a bad day doesn't mean they need to know about it. So being tactful as well is really important. And that's where I wanted to go next when we're talking about your training is I haven't seen any effective, consistent training in customer service. And I'm a big believer at onboarding, you set the stage. Like this is part of our culture here in the organization is to X, as well as ongoing communication, ongoing updating of processes, and listening to professional drivers' feedback is also really crucial. So same thing, carriers that are listening. And if you're wondering, man, this one customer, I just can't figure out how to satisfy them, ask the boots on the ground professionals that are going to that customer, talking to that forklift operator and saying, hey, what do you think would work? And they're probably going to say, well, you send me at the busiest time when there's 8 trucks, but they always say, man, if you came here at 2 instead of at 10, there'd be no trucks. Okay, what's the cost savings of that 4-hour wait time? Like there are little operational improvements like that where carriers listen to the professionals on the ground is key. But yeah, Dana, I really wanted to talk next on the training that you are offering. And again, to whatever extent you're comfortable sharing, because I think that's another area that our industry can improve carriers' relationships. So we're talking driver retention, staff retention, just a better place to work. I really got excited when you were sharing that with me before we hit record too. So can you kind of touch on that training a little bit more? And then of course, go to themindfultrucker.com, and Dana, your email is always in the show notes too. So, but yeah, if you can touch on that, because I think that will help carriers understand how to communicate, but they'll also make sure that their people are in the right places to be effective. So can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I sure can. Just one thing before I do that, though, if you look at what we just talked about for this whole interview, and you talk about the company versus the client, and all the people that work in the different areas of that, a lot of times, all the client wants is to know what's going on. That's it.
Yes.
If you don't communicate that, then that's where the problems start.
Yes.
So, so just to go back to what you just asked me about training, I just talked a little bit about some of the things that we do here. We have a partner called Wealth Dynamics and Talent Dynamics, and it's basically a business entrepreneurial platform that helps people find flow and get out of stress. So this is part of the Minding What Matters, validating value, knowing your flow and managing your flow, and a communication connector. And if you go to my website, you can see that on there. But basically what Wealth Dynamics is, picture this, for instance, if you had a group of 10 people in a company, and let's say the productivity's down, there's people out on stress, whatever the case is, it's not working. So basically what this does is it goes in and I actually, there's an assessment that we do. It's called a profile assessment. And I actually sent you one before we get on here, just to give you a taste of what it can do and what it means for you, as Josh from Truck Focus, right? So if you picture the company and you have 10 people in there, and we give each one of them a personal assessment to find out what is their energy, what is their profile. There's four different energies in that. There's the dynamo, which is at the top of the square. It's a creative person, and I believe that's what you came out as, creator. And on the right side, there's the blaze, which connects and communicates with people. Tempo is at the bottom, which is they serve. They serve people. They love the one-on-one connection with people. And then there's the steel energy, which loves the details and control, right? So if you look at that and you think, okay, these 10 people that are in here, you're going to have a bit of a mixture of those types of people. And maybe person A, who's a steel, is doing sales for you, is out there pounding the pavement, making the cold calls, doing all that stuff. And they are stressed out. And, things are just getting worse. Maybe they go on a stress leave for a while, they come back and they're just angry all the time. They don't like their job. They wish they were somewhere else and blah, 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 and all the rest of it. Well, the reason that's happening is because they're not in flow, right? They're in stress. So how do you get them into flow? Well, as I said initially, if they're a steel person and they're doing that kind of job, they're basically doing a blaze job. Okay? They're doing something that's completely opposite to what they should be doing. So when that group of 10 people, you have them and you have a project that you're doing, well, wouldn't it make sense to find someone who's a blaze that loves to connect with people and communicate to people doing that part of it instead of the steel person?
Yes.
Because the blaze person is going to be in their element. They're going to be like, woohoo, let's go. I'm going to be calling 1,000 people today. Let's go. Right?
Yes.
Versus the steel is going to be sitting in an office somewhere going, I like details, but I don't want to talk to nobody. So I guess if I have to, I'll call a couple people today. Do you see where that's going?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so now you have the blaze person doing exactly what they should be doing in the group. And now the group knows that. So now when the list of tasks come up on that project, the group can say, oh, so-and-so is really good at doing this. Let's give that to them. And this person over here is really good at that stuff. They love to create new things. So they're dynamo. Let's give this task to them because we need to create a new product. Right? And this person over here is a steel. Well, they can look after the spreadsheets and the details and keep track of the money part of it because they're awesome at doing that. Right? So there's strengths and weaknesses there. And once you find out who can do what the best, who's really strong at stuff. Then you put it into a team environment and you create team dynamics where you do a profile for that too. And you can see how the team's performing, and it keeps track of all that stuff. So, when there's one person that is kind of fallen to the wayside with it, you can identify that right away and say, well, no, this task should not be theirs. It should go to this person over here. And imagine if you did that with every single department in your company, what would happen?
Yes.
It's going to change everything.
Yes.
It's going to change your productivity. It's going to lower their stress level. It's going to keep people from going on stress leave. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you money. It's huge.
Yes.
And imagine what kind of culture you would have if everybody loved what they did and came to work every day doing what they love.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's what Wealth Dynamics does. And not only do we do the assessments, we then start going through with a team charter, and we start going through each and every part of their business to get it all aligned with where it should be so that it's productive and everybody's doing what they should be doing. And it helps the company to grow with a positive culture. Therefore, people will want to work there and want to stay there.
Yes.
Right. So that's really what Wealth Dynamics does. And like I said, through Soulful Leader, which is Stephanie Allen and Maren Alslack, and myself, we're the facilitators of it. And we put the program on. And if anybody's interested in more details to that, they can contact me at themindfultrucker.com, and we can have a conversation about it and see where we can help.
Nice.
That's our goal.
Powerful.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I'm glad you shared that. I think this is the perfect interview to share that in, because ultimately, like you said, you're not going to be thinking about retention because you're going to be so focused on just people are happy to be there. And yeah, in our industry, you're going to remove a lot of the grumbling that takes place. And I'm excited to see where that goes. So yeah, highly recommend that you connected with Dana at the Mindful Trucker for that. And yeah, I'm grateful that you shared. Thank you.
Yeah. Another thing with that too, Josh, is that when I say that, people are excited to go to work because they're doing things they love, how empowering is that?
Yes.
Right. If you said to your people, like, hey, you get to do all this stuff, and I know you love this stuff because you're this profile, and you do it. I mean, you're just giving the power right to them.
Yes.
And how cool is that? Now you're a leader, you're not a manager.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah. So that's all I just wanted to say about that.
Awesome. No, I appreciate that. And yeah, like I said, I'm excited to get involved more, and yeah, just to see where that goes. I think that's super impactful and it's really needed. So again, those listening, highly recommend, because yeah, Dana listed like 19 benefits right there. So highly recommend that. Yeah, you check it out. Just go to themindfultrucker.com and reach out to Dana for that. So just one of my questions that I really enjoy asking, and I know we've talked on it a number of occasions now, is legacy and the impact that you're having in the industry. So just as we do come to an end, can you kind of highlight your overarching mission? When you impact with students, when you impact with companies and industry, are you thinking about the impacts that you're having? And if so, what do you really want that impact to be? As well as, again, I know we've talked about it throughout the episode, but just drop the website again as we come to a close.
Sure. Well, it's funny because I don't know if you watched the Olympics, but we've been watching quite a bit of the women's hockey, and it's just fantastic. There was a little sentence on there that I caught in one of the commercials that I thought was just absolutely phenomenal. And it goes like this. It says, "Take what you love and make it what you do."
Nice.
And I thought, my God, that's so inspiring.
Yes.
And it's stuck in my head. And I will be using that with the students that I teach and the companies that we work with. Take what you love and make it what you do. I just think that it just says it all, really.
Yes.
That goes really well with what we've already talked about. There is a better way of doing things. There always is. And there's no right and wrong. We're all in this together. Change is a good thing. We want to, at the Mindful Trucker, we want to promote mindfulness, better mental wellness practices for your health, safety, and wellness in trucking. That's really what it's all about. We care about drivers. We care about companies. We care about their relationships together. And we want to foster that in growth to make it better, the best it can be, for all of humanity and for the trucking industry.
Powerful. Yeah, Dana, honestly, we're very aligned, which I'm really grateful for. And I really appreciate your just leadership in this space, because a lot of times, again, we're still changing an industry and it doesn't happen overnight. So I appreciate your persistence, but your optimistic approach, but also very strategic approach, where if it's your partnerships, if it's just constantly showing up and being consistent, but I do really appreciate it. And I appreciate this, the value that you shared today, because I'm really in a space where the Truck Focus podcast is all about creating an impact in our industry. And I think having a clear roadmap and a better understanding on specific topics such as customer service, it really helps us get there. And just, yeah, from a carrier's perspective, from a professional driver's perspective, also from customers' perspective, I think you highlighted enough just to really get people's gears turning and to say, okay, what type of change can I make? And a lot of it comes down to clarity. A lot of it comes down to communication, being a professional. But yeah, I really appreciate you hopping on today, Dana, once again. And I'm just really grateful for what the Mindful Trucker is doing in our industry. It's honestly awesome.
Well, thank you very much, Josh. And I just love being on Truck Focus podcast with you. It's fun, and that's what it's all about, right? Is just have a good time with it, have fun, and just, I hope that someone listening, it just makes some kind of difference in their life, even 1%. That would be fantastic.
Totally agree. Super grateful. And yeah, I agree. I always have a good conversation with you, which I really appreciate, because yeah, if this was boring for myself, I don't know if I'd be as eager to keep going at the rate we're going. But again, I'm super grateful, man. Thank you so much again for hopping on. This was awesome.
No problem at all. If anybody's, like I said, if anybody's interested in any of that, what we talked about today, they can reach out to mindfultrucker.com and through our website, social media, or anything like that. And we'd be more than happy to help out.
Appreciate it. Yeah, highly recommend that you guys do. And again, thank you so much, Dana. Have a good rest of your day.
All right, you too, Josh. Thank you very much, and have a great day, everyone.
Bye. Dana, honestly, thank you again for joining the podcast and for all the value that you shared in today's conversation. Customer retention is so important on so many fronts, and I appreciate the action items you spoke about today that will help carriers and professional drivers improve their customer journey, which ultimately retains the customers. So again, tell us in the comments, what was the biggest takeaway that you learned today from Dana and I's conversation? But also encourage you to send me an email if you have a question or a concern that you're thinking of, how do I overcome this? So that way we can help. My email's in the show notes. I also encourage you to reach out to the Mindful Trucker directly, either on LinkedIn, his website, themindfultrucker.com. I've included that contact detail in the show notes as well. Dana, thank you again for your time and for the continued mentorship and value you're entering into our industry. I really appreciate it. And before you leave, ask that you like this episode, subscribe to the channel that you're listening on, and make sure that you share it out, because I think ultimately everyone in our industry can always be interested and learn, how do I satisfy my customers, or how do I improve the customer experience? And again, I believe today's episode really impacts that. So thank you so much. And as always, let's create a pivotal impact. Bye.